Alright, hey everyone. Kind of late night in the Mind Circus Cave, so to speak. And I realized what the next thing I wanted to put down here in a video was for you guys. So without further ado, we're going to get right over into Paint Shop Pro. And what we're going to talk about is something called layer blend options. Now, this exists in all versions of Photoshop since I think Photoshop 3. It's been a standard feature since layers were included in Paint Shop Pro. I think that was 5 or 6. And it's included in GIMP. It works right now. And the reason why I want to show you this is because it's one of my favorite tricks, and I hope you get something from this. So let's take a look. I've got two images, two separate layers happening right now. We'll take a look. I'll hide the that layer and we'll just take a look. So what I have here is just a standard texture that I pulled off the web after searching for pink texture. I know, I went really exotic with that search. Okay, and over that I have a checkerboard. So two layers, raster 1, which is the background, and raster 2. Now, every image editing program is going to do this a little differently, but they generally have a little something where we can tweak the way that the layers interact with each other. So I'm going to show you a little piece of magic right now. What we'll do is, instead of setting our layer blend option to normal, and normal just means as we fade it, it fades against the background, what we'll actually set it for is darken. And the way this works is actually kind of simple. It will only show pixels above that are darker than the colors underneath. So once we have that like that, we've set it for darken, what we can do is go in here and again fade the opacity. We get a really interesting effect like that without going through and busting up all of the white and taking it out one by one if we were looking to do something like this. So that's layer blend option number 1, which is darken. So let's take a look at layer blend option number 2. We'll restore this to its full strength, and let's look at lighten. And again, lighten is the opposite of darken, and what it does is it will only show the pixels that are actually lighter than the pixels above, or below, my bad. And again, we can go in here like this, adjust the opacity if we want. But again, the image itself, when we show it normally, is like that. So when we set it for darken, it's only showing the pixels that are going to darken the image underneath it. And when we set it for lighten, the inverse happens. Now, this is an interesting kind of thing that you can use in a variety of different ways. Before we go on, I may do another one of these quick tips later on a couple of the other options, but we'll just scroll through really quickly. There's dodge, difference, soft light, hard light. So we start to understand that we can get some interesting effects going like that. But again, what I urge you to do is not to go in and play with all these effects and say, oh well, that's kind of cool, and slap something on it. What I urge you to do is take a look at the way that it is interacting and making the two layers work together. So to take this to the next step, obviously I don't see a whole lot of use for a checkerboard. What I can do here is I can go into Google and I can search, say, tribal vector. And this will give me all sorts of tribal art designs. So, for example, let's see if this one's any good. We'll view original image on it. And it, of course, does not load. Let's try a different one. Clearly, I should have thought this out ahead of time. This is, as you can see with the lighten and darken, this is primarily going to work best when we are talking about grayscale or black and white objects. So, paste that in here as a new layer, And then all we have to do is set that for darken. And again, we can fade the opacity like that. Kind of gives an interesting effect. And again, it's really easy to do. So, let's take this to the next level really quickly. And this is, again, not rocket science, but when you think about it, it might be interesting. What happens is if I take a look at a design and I look at it and I'm like, well, that's really great, but I wish it was the opposite, if you understand my meaning. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to send my layer back to its normal, and then I'm just going to image. I'm going to get the negative image of it. And then instead of darkening, I'm going to lighten. And there we go. So I can get that opposite of that image in there really quickly, as long as I'm inverting the colors of the image and then going ahead and taking that next step, which is to set the opposite, so darken versus lighten on that. I think you kind of get the idea of this. This is a quick little trick. So one of the most common things that we see out there are like floral vector. And this looks like a very good view original image. Please load. There it is. So why you know let me copy. Okay. Let's go back and try one more. This one's got some watermarking on it, but it doesn't really matter for the course of our. Let's go ahead and paste that and set it for darken. Oops. Adjust the opacity. And it's just a really quick trick to get you kind of a nice effect. Anyways, I hope you guys found that one helpful.